Ceramco 3 porcelain is the porcelain we're using on our PFMs. If you notice, I have program A1, A2, A6, so everything on Ceramco is in the A program. If you come over to the Avanti porcelain, if you notice, I have everything on the F program. If you come down to the Noble BioCare Rondo, I have everything on the B program. These furnaces can hold about 40 different programs. So not to get too crazy, let's just stay with the Ceramco. So the opaque, if you're ready to opaque, the furnace has to be on program A1. When we're building the body porcelain, it's program A2, and when we're glazing and staining, it's going to be program A6. And slowly you're going to learn all these temperatures as we go through it. So let's set the furnace up. First step, I want the furnace to idle. The program, we've already programmed it that we want it to idle at 1200 degrees. But if you look at it, it's not there yet. Okay? The trick is you push idle and then you push start. When you push start, what that does is it tells the furnace to go ahead up to 1200 degrees. It's heading towards the high temperature, right? So it's going in the direction. If you notice, it's going up. Let's close it. Page, let's see. Oh, vacuum changer. Okay. So it's going to go up to 1200 degrees and it's going to hold the temperature at 1200 until you're ready. Always keep the muffle closed because the heat at 1200 degrees times 5 ovens is going to be too severe. So keep the muffle closed. Once you're baking, you can actually look through the little window and you can watch the crowns baking if you want. Okay, so it's going up. Remember, it goes up at 100 degrees a minute. So if it's going up at 100 degrees a minute, 100 degrees a minute, it's already up to about 900 degrees, so it's going to take about 3 more minutes until it reaches the temperature. So now, the one thing that everybody forgets is you always have to push the start button. So if you push idle, you have to push start. If you want to fire something and it's A1, you have to push start. Okay? Every time you're going to do something, you have to push start or the furnace doesn't know you're ready to go. And most of the people in the room forget that. So it's going up. It'll only take about another 2 minutes until it reaches the idle temperature. And it's telling you what it's doing. Just look at the lights. It's heading towards the high temperature right now. All right, so it's trying to go up to it and it'll be up there in about another minute or so. And then I'll show you, all ovens should sit at 1200. Every oven should sit at 1200 degrees until you're ready. In fact, when you're finished, whether you're opaquing, baking, glazing, whatever you're doing, the last thing you should do is take your crown out. You're going to take the crown out, you're going to put it on the cooling tray, you're going to go back to idle, you're going to push idle, and you're going to push start. And that gets the furnace ready for the next person behind you. If you forget, this furnace will go back to room temperature. You just lost 20 minutes. All right, so the last thing you do, take your crown out. When the oven goes back, put it on the cooling tray for about 10 or 15 minutes, hit the idle button, hit start, it'll go back to 1200, the furnace is ready for the next guy. Alright, so right now, high temperature, and if you look at it, it fires so fast that it actually jumped past the temperature. So it's going to stop and it's going to turn around and go back. Alright, so let's assume it's done. I can push stop, okay, and right now the furnace is warmed up, I'm ready to go. So now, if you look at this, let's make believe we're going to opaque. If we're going to opaque, let's look at it. It tells you that there's 3 minutes drying time, that there's 29 pounds of vacuum, that it goes in at 1200 degrees, it's going to go up to 1778 is the high temperature, and it goes up at about, they're recommending 126 degrees a minute, which is higher than what usually we go at about 100. So, but they're just telling, that's what the company's research has shown. So then come over here and look at it. If I'm on program, I want to opaque. I just said it's program A1. Push that and look at what I'm on. The A lit up, the one is ready, it's sitting at low temperature, it's ready to start. So if I want to run through it, say I forgot, I lost the chart. Every time I hit the mode button is showing me what's going on. The low temperature is 1200. The preheating, it's going to dry it for 3 minutes. It's going to go up at 100 degrees a minute, but what did the company recommend? 126. So now you can see that this is wrong. So to change it, look, go up to 126, keep going. Now the vacuum is full vacuum, 29 pounds. And what did we say the high temperature was? Let's go back and look. If you're not sure, come back over here. It's 1778. All right, so again, the temperature's wrong. Whoever used it the last time had it the wrong temperature. So come over here. 1778. All right, so now we've set the high temperature. Go to the next one. No hold. Do they recommend holding? It didn't say anything about hold, so it's on 0. Go back to cooling. Didn't say anything about cooling, so it's going to go off. The vacuum, the word evacuation temperature means when the vacuum comes on. The vacuum is going to come on, and then when the vacuum blows off, actually the vacuum should go off about 25 or 30 degrees before you're done. So we just said it was 1778, right? This thing should cut off at about 25 degrees less. So let's go back to 1758. So that means as it's going up at 126 degrees a minute, as soon as it hits that temperature, the vacuum will turn itself off. I don't need it anymore. The porcelain has pretty much fired at that point. Then it'll go up. It'll go to the next temperature. So let's run through it again one more time. The low temperature is 1200 degrees. It's going to dry for 3 minutes. It's going to fire at 126 degrees a minute. The full vacuum at 29 pounds. The high temperature is going to be 1778. It's not going to hold. When it reaches 1778, the oven's opening. It's going to cool down. The vacuum comes on at 1200. The vacuum goes off at 1758. So now the furnace is set for the A1 cycle. If I wanted A2, I just go to A2. I go back and check it again. Or if it's A3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Or if it happens to be the Noble BioCare, which is program B, you go to B, and then you'll go ahead like B1, and you'll go back to B1, and you'll reprogram it. The biggest problem is, just because you know what's going on, the person after you may not know what's going on. And if that person comes in and starts playing with these buttons, and then you come back 15 minutes later, and you don't check it, your work is ruined. So every time you do this, even if you know, even if you think that nobody came over, nobody touched the furnace, go back to A1, bend down, run through the whole thing. A couple seconds. Low temperature 1200, drying 3 minutes, firing 126, full vacuum 29, high temperature 1778, no hold, no cooling, comes down, vacuum goes on 1200, 1758, high temperature. Boom, what did that take? 30 seconds. All right, so it's worth 30 seconds. So now we want it, now it's on A1. We just want to go back to idle. Push idle, and what do I push now?
Start.
Right, you always push start. So by me pushing start, the oven's going to close, and it's going to go back to what we've told it to go back to. We said the idle's around 1200. This is going to go back to 1200, and it's just going to hold it indefinitely until you're ready. And